Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James. And this week I'm reading to you guys 2 creepypastas that kind of fall under the lost episode umbrella of creepypastas. As usual, for this episode, both stories that I'm reading, both versions of the story that I'm reading, will be linked in the show notes. And on top of that, really quick before we really start reading these, the first one I'm reading to you guys today is inspired by a real-life mystery that still seems to be unsolved, but I will be doing a deep dive on this one in a later episode, so let me know if you know anything about it. You'll know which one I'm talking about once I read it, so let me know if you have any more information on that so I can add it to that episode. So with that being said, let's start reading. The Curse of Saki Sanobashi. I'm writing this journal entry to document my experience with a certain film. I'm probably already dead if anyone is reading this, but please read on. I hate Saki Sanobashi and what it has done to my life. Most importantly, I hate the depraved bastards who made it. Until recently, I've been an average college girl with only one notable quality. I love searching for lost media. Most people get a thrill from watching a good horror movie, and I'm no different with lost media. There's just something about the elusive nature of it that makes the hunt so fascinating. There's a countless amount of entertainment that vanishes from the public eye for whatever reason, and many remain completely forgotten. That never sat well with me. Maybe it's the history buff in me, but I believe every form of content should be preserved. It's scary to think that something that brings you joy could one day forever be lost to time. Saki Sanobashi is a name that's been plaguing me for the last few years now. Every lost media enthusiast worth their salt has at least heard of it if they haven't already joined the hunt. I'm one of the several archivists who plunged headfirst into this monstrosity of a goose chase. I, like many others, got hooked on its tragic premise of a bunch of schoolgirls trapped in a bathroom where death is the only way out. The morbid curiosity in all of us compelled us to search high and low for this elusive anime. That was years ago. Now, Saki remains a distant memory in the minds of once optimistic researchers. Dead end after dead end had led to the entire thing being labeled as an elaborate hoax. Even I began losing faith in the search despite all the time I invested in it. It was disheartening knowing that one of the most fascinating lost media searches of all time could be fake. I would have quit entirely had it not been for that one fateful afternoon. It was a typically brutal winter in Toronto, which meant that a snowstorm would be picking up before the day was over. I thought it best to go to my favorite comic and stock up on my favorite books before the storm trapped me at home with my girlfriend. Mark Noir was different from other comic shops in that there exists a secret section of the store only a select few know about. Because I've been a loyal customer for a few years, the owner trusted in showing me the back room. I was hesitant at first to enter a secluded room alone with a man due to being a woman, but I figured he wouldn't try anything with customers still in the store. What I saw in that room was the stuff of wonder. Several shelves were stocked with underground comics so obscure even the most hardcore archivists probably didn't know about them. The type of comics you can't even find on the internet. It was heaven on earth for a lost media obsessed girl like me. The original post mentioned Saki being an anime, but I was desperate for any type of media out there. What's fascinating is that there were also movies stocked with the comics. The cover art on each DVD case was incredibly low quality to the point that I assumed the store owner had handmade them himself. There were no ISBNs or distributor info anywhere to be found, so my theory seemed fairly likely, all things considered. I filled my bag with as many items as I could afford, which isn't a lot for a broke college student, and excitedly swiped my card at the counter. The store owner gave me the weirdest of grins as I made my purchase. He seemed amused, but almost in a mocking sort of way. He hardly ever emotes in the first place, so that smile really caught me off guard. I left the store and boarded the closest train to drop me off at the dorms. Though Halloween comes in the autumn, I feel like winter is the most ideal season to indulge in horror. The cold weather is like a reflection of the spine-chilling fear I get whenever I read a good comic. I stepped inside my dorm room and immediately began browsing through my latest collection. They all looked so good, I didn't know where to begin. As I rummaged through the pile of DVDs, I noticed something that threw me for a loop. One DVD case was completely blank. The cover was pitch black, and so was the back. There wasn't even anything on the spine. I couldn't imagine myself buying something like this, so how it ended up with me was a mystery. Still, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't the least bit intrigued by it. There could have been literally anything on that disc, and the only way to find out was to start the movie. I waited for my girlfriend to return from campus before starting the movie. Emily's a cute brunette, but she has zero tolerance for horror. She always shrieks her head off whenever I play my movies in the living room. All that blood and gore drives her crazy. She greeted me with a kiss on the lips and then paused when she saw the devious smirk on my face. She already knew what I had in store for her. Emily, of course, protested, but I pleaded with her to watch the movie with me. Seeing her scream like a child over on-screen murder was sometimes more enjoyable than the movie itself. She remained firm on her stance against it, but eventually broke down after enough of my begging. It feels good having things my way. I quickly inserted the DVD into an old game station and stared at the screen with anticipation for what was about to start. After several seconds of a blank screen, some Japanese text appeared with the English subtitle that read, Requiem of the Lost Girls. The title naturally left me curious, so I watched on with excitement. The scene then faded back to black, and what I saw after that made my blood freeze solid. 3 schoolgirls in a bathroom. All of them had miserable looks of utter despair. The scene was unmistakable. It was a scenario I ran over in my head countless times. It was Saki Sanobashi, the anime searched years for. Having the legendary film before me after all this time was almost too good to be true. And to think it came from my favorite comic shop. I've been shopping for years now and never had a hint something like Saki would be there. Emily was confused as to why I was so excited, so I told her we just discovered the holy grail of lost media. The gravity of the situation was unsurprisingly lost on her, but she smiled anyway for my sake. We watched the movie unfold just like the legend went. The girls remained trapped in the bathroom and lamented their misfortune all the while. As the film progressed, the agony in their expressions became increasingly visceral. Their eyes looked hollow, their skin was so pale. Emily clutched onto my hand with a hint of anxiety in her eyes. The tone of the video was much more somber than I expected. Seeing the girls take turns telling the others about their hopes and dreams, trying desperately to alleviate their situation, felt oddly melancholic. I was growing attached to these characters to the point I hoped they'd find a way despite going against the lore. We eventually reached the part where the girls realized there truly was no way out of their situation, except for death. Their deaths were just as horrid as I expected them to be. One girl goaded one of the others into drowning her in the sink, and another clawed at her own neck with visceral detail. The most painful part of it all was the blood-curdling scream the last girl emitted as she bashed her head against the wall. It was far more realistic than it had any right to be. Despite all the fear, my heart raced with excitement. I had to write a blog post to let everyone know about my discovery. The internet would go wild once I told them the good news. I quickly went to my Tumblr to start writing, but the site wouldn't load. I tried other social media sites, but nothing was working. I tried stepping outside in the hall to get better reception, but the door wouldn't budge. The knob didn't move at all no matter how hard I pulled. My girlfriend and I were both freaking out at this point. We tried opening windows, calling 911, and banging on doors, all of which were in vain. We were somehow completely severed from the outside world. I wondered how the hell was any of this possible when the image of the movie flashed into my head. We were trapped like the girls in Saki Sanobashi. So far, we've spent 2 weeks in the hellhole of an apartment. Food has long since run out, and any sense of hope is dead. It pains me to see Emily's body as pale as winter, her eyes devoid of life. Neither of us can last much longer. I'm writing this document as a warning to anyone searching for Saki Sanobashi. Stay the hell away from it. It is a cursed film that dooms its viewers to suffer the same fate as the girls in the bathroom. I imagine the curse will be lifted once we die and our belongings will be collected by our loved ones. Hopefully they will see this document and spread the news, or maybe they'll brush this off as the crazed rantings of a lunatic. I honestly don't know anymore. All I can say is to stay safe and never attempt to watch this damned movie. Gregory's room, credited to the Diego 908. My life has always been pretty cheerful. This was made possible by my friends, family, a bright future at my university, and nothing particularly harmful happening to me so far. Everyone I know has nice thoughts of me as I have of them. All my teachers and I get along well, and despite having no known relatives other than my parents, I don't really care much. I always thought of my friends as brothers. I had, however, something I hid for years. I, like many other people I know, am a 90s kid. I'm pretty sure even adults during that time liked those years too. It was all about video games, simplicity, and good TV cartoons. Yes, good TV cartoons. The dream of becoming a cartoon tester came to me when I was just 6 years old. My parents accepted it delightedly when I told them. After all, it was the perfect job for someone my age. One afternoon, they took me to Nickelodeon HQ. I was so excited to see everything they were making before anybody else watched it. My friends would be so jealous. I stood there in a room with a big TV and a DVD player. First time I actually saw one. There were about 5 other kids that were like me, expecting to watch cartoons all day. The room felt somewhat like a living room, probably to make us feel more comfortable. It had a carpet, chairs, a table, potted plants, and a nice warm shade of red paint on the walls. A staff member came in out of nowhere with a CD, smiling at us. "We're going to make a new series on Nick Jr. If you like it, we'll send the first season to your parents in no time," he said in a cheery tone. All the kids and me started celebrating as the man inserted the CD inside the DVD player. "I'll be back in a while," he said with a bright smile as he left the room. The TV displayed a static screen, which was odd since it was the newest they had been selling that year. Eventually, it showed a warm fireplace burning. The camera then panned to reveal the whole room. There was no music at all, nor did the sequence introduce anything. The room looked warm and soft. A chair faced the window, showing stars and a night sky. A bald head was on the chair. It slowly turned, showing a face with big, creepy eyes and a surprisingly realistic mouth. Me and all the kids were surprised about this man and his appearance. We waited to see what happened. A robotic, emotionless voice broke the silence as the man said, "Oh, I didn't see you there." The camera turned around, showing his crudely made CGI body. He greeted us and said, "Hello, I'm Gregory, and this is my room." The camera zoomed on his creepy face. "We're going to have so much fun together, just the two of us." He pointed at the window. "We can look at the stars together." He held a book. "We can read a book together." The camera showed us the fireplace as Gregory said, "We can stare into the glorious flames of the fireplace together." The silence was crushing. All the kids looked confused and at each other. We waited again as Gregory stared into the fire. His face suddenly appeared again and the camera slowly zoomed in. "But no matter what we do, it will just be the two of us and no one else in this room. Just me and you. No parents. No police. No one can hear you." Distorted background music began playing as his face got closer and closer. Not only that, but his voice and the background itself started to get weird as transparent flames took over the place. "Embrace me. I need love. Gregory needs love. The movie ended with his paralyzed face all over the screen. Every kid started crying uncontrollably as the man from some minutes ago came in. He had a very angry look on his face and his words pierced through my memory. I thought that guy learned his lesson long ago, but he yelled furiously as he went through the door along with the other kids. The screen went blank as I secretly took the CD. It had clean, simple, plain text written on it that said Gregory's room. After a few days, there were some news about parents suing Nickelodeon for showing inappropriate content. They even got as far as labeling the incident as a show that was ultimately rejected due to a poor focus group result. My parents were so frightened that they didn't let me near the place again. We lived relatively close to Nick HQ. Until then, I kept the CD with me, hoping to understand one day the meaning of such a dreadful creation.